Hello, everybody. Welcome to Capes Not Included. My name is Danny J, along with LeGrand Jackson. And joining us is Matt Sunner. Matt, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, gentlemen. How you doing this morning?
Very good, very good, very good. This is a great show. Remember, hit the subscribe button right below the video. You want to make sure you're telling all your friends about it. Go on Facebook. It's Lost in Saturday Morning / Capes Not Included. It's a combination of shows that we put together doing with these types of topics. So go on there and like that on Facebook. Subscribe to the channel and share it. We're getting the subscriptions up. We have plenty of shows actually coming to the channel. So we're real excited about it, and we're going to have something for everybody. So make sure you subscribe, share it, and enjoy amongst anything else.
I got an idea. I want to do a hunting show.
Want to do a hunting show?
I mean, it's all inner city, so it'd be like squirrels.
And they'll put a mask on. This will go over really well.
All right, never mind.
Anyway, we're going to talk about that later. Today, we got a really cool show. As you can see behind us, we got Dancing Book. Buck Rogers was one of the greatest shows ever made. I'm sorry, and it hasn't. And the funny thing is, it has not been remade.
It can't be remade, or well, it can be remade.
Now you got that going on,
because Gil Gerard was the freaking man.
Oh my God, we're going to talk about how much of a man Gil Gerard was and stuff like that, but what we're going to do today, it's kind of cool. We're going to actually compare it to its sister show. And I say sister show because it was another Glenn Larson production. We're talking about Battlestar Galactica. Battlestar Galactica is where a lot of the space sound effects and special effects came from, and then ended up being refurbished into other shows.
Correct.
Buck Rogers, namely, took a lot of that stuff because the shows were very similar in nature. So we're going to talk about them today. We're going to talk about, when I say versus, not necessarily going head to head, but like, what do we like about one show versus the other, that type of thing. It's going to be really fun.
Hey, Dan, interesting fun fact for you that I found while preparing for the show.
Yes.
That the Buck Rogers Starfighter was one of the original plans for the Battlestar Galactica Colonial Viper.
Get out.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that today, and we might talk about that now because you brought it up. I wanted to compare the Viper versus the Starfighter because, not for nothing, I'm a Starfighter guy. The Starfighter seemed to be more efficient. It was a cooler looking ship. It was a much cooler looking ship. It was badass. It was, the Vipers seemed to expel a lot. They seemed to expel a lot of thrust.
It looks like a dildo.
It did look like a dildo. It really honestly did.
Yeah.
But I remember in 1979, I had the actual toy that you fluid it and you pressed a button and it broke in half. That was its battle action. You're like, yes.
Oh yeah.
Check this out, girls.
Yeah, it's the battle action for your super space fighter is it basically getting blown up.
It's getting blown up. Don't put sounds on or anything like that. Let's just press a button,
no little lights,
and make that guy die. Let's kill Starbuck.
Boom.
Battle action, killing Starbuck action.
The one thing that I will give the Battlestar Galactica toys credit for, though, was they actually fired projectiles.
Yeah, that it did.
And the Cylon Raider, you pop the wings out a little bit, and that's where the launchers were. So you kind of pop them out, and you had a little dart on each side, a little plastic dart on each side.
You know what's messed up too, and I never had them, and I know for a fact that there were Buck Rogers toys.
Yes, there were.
Oh, yeah.
Buck Rogers.
I had a Starfighter.
Did you have a Starfighter?
Yeah, I mean that thing was. I mean, I have my camera set up, but I mean it was big. I mean it was probably about that big. My camera's
that big.
I have a limited space here, so I can't get myself zoomed out enough. But I'd say it was probably about like 16 inches long.
So it's like an X-wing.
Yeah. I mean it was like an X-wing. It was roughly that size, maybe even a little bit bigger.
Oh, you figure that's true because the figures were about 3.5. They were like G.I. Joe size.
Yeah, they were G.I. Joe size. So you figure I forget the name right now for the G.I. Joe version of the Strike Fighter. Basically, the G.I. Joe F-14.
Yeah.
It was probably about that big.
Okay.
Good size comparison.
That makes sense. And just such a great show. Buck Rogers was a man from 1987. I love it. Because we're in 2019. In 1987, they launched the last of their deep space probes. Sounds almost still like a porno.
Yeah.
I'm gonna launch this program.
And due to a mishap, his life's a piss. Life's a piss. His life support system fails and freezes him. Yeah. And he doesn't return back to Earth. I guess he goes. They don't tell you, but he goes to like a black hole or some shit.
Yeah, he was blown out of Earth's orbit and somehow or another, and that's what causes him to freeze or something.
Yeah. And he comes back to Earth 500 years later. Okay.
The one question before can we get in trouble for like playing the music and like the intro for that, just so we can hear it, so the fans can?
I don't know. Oh. It's not. I don't know.
Would it be copywritten?
I think it might be copywritten, but I think for something like that, for something like a theme song, I think it's almost falls into that public domain.
The narrator, wasn't that I could be wrong because I don't do research for this show. Keep that in mind. But I'm pretty sure the narrator was he sounds like Raymond Burr, but
it was Raymond Burr.
Was it Raymond Burr? Yeah. So I mean, the show itself had a movie, and then that movie became a pilot.
Right.
In other words, they re-edited it to be a TV pilot, but it was a movie at first.
Mm-hmm. No, I was wrong. William Conrad.
Wayne Conrad was the
William Conrad. Yes.
Okay.
But such an epic show, and the closest thing I've seen to this was Farscape. Have you guys ever seen Farscape?
Yes.
I've seen a few episodes of it. Yeah.
Farscape to me is the closest thing that I've seen to a version of Buck Rogers, because he was another guy who was out there, and he didn't he was a NASA pilot, and he gets blown into it, but in that case he goes into another universe, which was cool, was updated type of thing. And I don't think its intention was to be Buck Rogers in any way, shape, or form.
No, it wasn't.
But it was very similar. It was very similar. Now, a neat little tidbit of info for everybody, and not that this is anything phenomenal, but my mom, when we first moved into where my dad currently lives now and stuff like that, she used to babysit. And this nice couple just had a baby, and they come over and they interview my mom, and they decide to have my mom babysit their child, and eventually three other children that come along. They're the kids I'm talking about. The kid's great-grandfather, the father's grandfather, was the guy who created Buck Rogers.
Are you shitting me?
No. Last name is Nolan. If you look it up, Nolan. Matt, if you have access there, look up the creator of Buck Rogers. The last name should be Nolan. We babysit his great grandkids, which was really, really cool. The one son has a dog named Buck Rogers.
Philip Francis Nolan.
There you go. Wow. And Philip was one of the grandkids. Yeah. Wow. Tom, Peter, Ryan, and Philip.
Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, and Mike.
Yeah. Yeah. We're actually still friendly with this family today. They're they're super, super nice people. But yeah, I mean, it was a kind of a neat thing because like Buck Rogers back then was a huge show. And it only lasted 2 seasons, which was like amazing.
But disappointing.
It really was. Well, season 2 was not as good as season 1.
It doesn't matter.
But
Buck Rogers.
But Buck Rogers was just a great show. And Gil Gerard, and we're going to talk about, because look at him, he's dancing back there. He's a sexy bastard. He was someone I thought could have played James Bond.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
Because James Bond did not have to be British. In fact, the first James Bond was American.
Yeah,
and the first James Bond was based around a Casino Royale, right. But he was a casino security.
Okay,
got head of security for a casino. James Bond. It wasn't like MI6 007 bullshit like that, but he was American.
Right.
And then they took him and they made him MI6.
Well, Ian Fleming, the way he wrote him, he's essentially supposed to be British. I mean, Ian Fleming himself was British. I don't think they were calling it back in World War II. I don't think they were calling it the Special Air Service yet. They may have, but he was basically British Special Forces, and that's what he framed James Bond after.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Gil Gerard. I mean, there's so many British actors that appear on American shows. They do an American accent. I mean, you could have, if he had a good vocal coach and could have pulled off a convincing British accent, I think he would have made a great James Bond.
I think even as an American, I think he could have made a great James Bond.
Because if
you watch him, he's very James Bond-esque.
Dude, he's manly.
Mm-hmm.
He is.
He's really manly. He has a good look. He has a beautiful look about him, because the hair and the way he carries himself and the swagger and everything. Yeah. He could have been
And then you fast forward to season 2, where he goes on the one planet and he gets bit by the satyr.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And he starts to turn into a satyr, right? And before he gets the afro, which was fucking ridiculous, his hair's long and he's got this beard and he's starting to grow horns. I said, that's a badass son of a bitch right there. That's how you gotta keep.
With
horny,
his body
horny
type,
hairy buck.
With his body type, he had that like an
built.
old wrestler. He was thick.
Yeah, he was
ready
built,
to go.
Yeah, he was built like a wrestler. He really was like a Luthez, like in that era where it wasn't like this gigantic thing. He was
super dynamic, like cut up and everything. He was barrel chested and manly.
He was very superhero-esque. In fact, with his voice and everything like that,
like the old Christopher.
He could have been
Superman.
I say he could have been Superman. I could have seen Gil Gerard as Superman.
Yeah, I could see that too. I could see that.
You got to get rid of the 70s do. You know what I mean? But
really.
The only big thing they apparently used to have a lot of problem with him rating the all-day craft services, which you'll see actually even season 1. Like he actually got fat. They used to have a lot of wardrobe problems. One of the wardrobe guys called him called him a Polish sausage or something because it was like trying to squeeze him into the costumes at that point.
I mean, that was funny.
But 99% of the costumes back then were like spandex and lycra.
Yeah.
Yo, actually, and here, I was going to save this for a little bit later, but I really truly believe that Aaron Gray as Colonel Wilma Deering is mostly, if not solely, responsible for like my spandex and satin fetishes. I swear to God. I mean, look at that.
That woman.
Look at that.
She still looks good today.
Yeah, she still does. And I think overall too, the casting for her was great because you know what?
Yeah. She
was sexy. But even too, I mean, she's not much in the chest area, but you believed her as being a soldier. But you believed her as a pilot, as a soldier, as just a very beautiful woman who could kick some ass.
She was
smart, and competent.
The voice was sexy.
Everything about her was sexy.
The voice was so sexy.
And then, of course, season 2, they put her in that little sailor uniform, and we got a good look at those gams. I mean, hello, legs. Yeah. Permission to come aboard.
I thought that was a demotion. I said she blew somebody that wasn't supposed to be blown. And she got demoted and put on that searcher. You know what I mean? Like that because that poor girl was such command. And then when she went on there, she was like the help. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Too. Yeah. Wilma was not anything of good on season 2.
No.
Because Hawk took all her fucking screen time.
Yo, Hawk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then I get it. But,
but let's face it.
By that time, Buck should have been totally heavily into Wilma at that point.
Yeah.
How can you be totally into Wilma when the princess is constantly throwing it at you? And she was
and he wasn't and I think behind the scenes Buck was giving it to the princess. But like
gave her a little bit of
there was a reason why there wasn't a war.
Hey, I'll tell you right now, this was every teenage boy in the 80s. That was their fantasy 3-way. Every man in the 80s, that was their fantasy 3-way right there.
But such an unbelievably sexy woman. And we just talked about this on DJs After Dark. She was so incredibly sexy. And then I read about her that like after this, she did Matt Houston. I think she did an episode. I think she did an episode of Magnum PI, like an episode, and then that was it. She was done. And now she does like, I think she has like a cookbook or something like that now. You know, she literally just retired from show business, and she's married, has children, you know, what have you. But I was like, that was the sexiest woman of the 70s.
Figure she spent the greater part of 2 decades giving guys carpal tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
Being honest.
And think about it, in a short period of time, she didn't do a lot. Now, Aaron Gray didn't do a lot either.
Yeah.
But
Buck Rogers, Silver
Spoons.
And,
that was it.
No, she did something else.
Not a series, though, was it?
Yeah, Pamela Hensley, I mean, she was mostly involved like the early 70s up through the mid 80s. I mean, IMDb has the last thing she ever did as Matt Houston.
Yeah.
Which ended in 85.
Yeah.
You know, other than that, she was like little bit parts. She had appeared on The Love Boat a couple of times, Hotel, Fantasy Island.
And in those shows, everybody did a bit part. I could have been on fucking Hotel.
I always wanted to go on Fantasy Island.
I would have loved Fantasy Island. Resurrect Ricardo Montalban.
Yeah. I think they were talking about that, or they just recently did like a reboot of that, or they were trying to.
They did a reboot with
wow, I forgot all about
the guy that killed Kirk.
What kind of kill?
Silence. In Star Trek.
Oh yeah, Generations.
Generations.
Okay.
McDowell.
Roddy McDowell.
Roddy McDowell was the new Mr. Rourke, and I was like, no, not doing it.
Yeah,
it's got to be that mysterious fucking. They could have got the Carino.
Jason Goes to Hell. Aaron Gray was in Jason Goes to Hell.
There you go. What do you call it? They could have got
that scene.
The what's that beer? Corona, the Corona guy, the sexiest man in America. They could have made him.
Yeah, the most interesting man in the world.
Yeah, make him fucking.
Yeah, he would have been believable.
Carino. I keep saying Carino. I'm like,
you definitely needed that Latino, or at least Mediterranean kind of a vibe from him.
I would have.
That's what you needed. A man you believe on an island.
What was that Chris Kattan on Saturday Night Live when he's down too sexy? Or no, that was Rob Schneider did that, wasn't it?
No.
Too sexy. Wasn't it Rob Schneider?
Oh, no, you're too sexy.
Too sexy. Make him Mr. Rourke. I would have loved it. But Buck, let's get back into Buck.
Yeah, anyway, Buck.
Let's get back into Buck. But Buck, the cool thing about Buck Rogers, though, too, is that, like, for a guy that was 500 years out of date, he knew a shit ton more than the people in the future.
Well, you know, because he came from, you know, that time. I mean, where, you know,
I mean, technically, you could say he was pre-records that they don't have, because they lost records in the war and stuff like that. Yeah. So he knows stuff that
he had kind of insight, and he was able to look at it from a completely different angle, as saying like, no, this is how you do it, because they'll never see it coming, kind of thing.
Right.
Correct. There's that famous episode, like I think it was like one of the first or second episodes, where at one point where he's trying to teach them about like football. Yeah. He's like, you sack the quarterback. Like, and the one dude's like, well, what do you mean, like, sack the quarterback? I'll show you. And he just totally tackles the dude in the middle of the squad room. Like, that's how you sack the quarterback.
Well, if you think about it, because it's the same trope with Buck as it is with a lot of future shows. The future has been sanitized so much that they don't understand the art of this, or how this breaks down to that. So when Buck comes in, he's coming from a grittier stance.
Oh, yeah.
From where everything is in your face. I've dealt with it all. I've been taught it all. And they've all been sanitized to the point they didn't know really anything. I mean,
no, they really did. They were very naive. And it's amazing that they were able to keep a whole city together.
Well, that's the thing.
I would have liked to, you know what I would have liked to have really, like, you never explored the outskirts of the city, because you know how like New Chicago was like
kind of like Demolition Man sub.
Yeah, I mean you get that in the first episode, in the pilot episode,
right?
And they never touch on it again. And I would have been like, I mean, granted, you have the problem with Princess Ardala, and you got these other threats that happen
I ain't
here
have a
and there.
problem with Princess
I ain't have a
Ardala.
problem with her at all. Like, let her fucking do whatever she wants. But,
Enter into negotiations.
yes.
Horizontal
Like,
negotiation.
why wasn't New Chicago constantly being attacked by people with like one eye and stuff like that are on the ground because they're in the nuclear holocaust?
Right.
That's what I would have liked to have seen too. Like I would like to have seen more forces do anything, because it seemed like they just sat around a lot and waited for something to happen.
Because by that time, everybody in the city had laser guns and photon rays and lightsabers and shit, and they were fighting with rocks.
Yeah.
You're not breaking through a force field with a rock.
Yeah.
It's like,
everybody sitting around New Chicago is like, bitch, please.
Let me tell you something.
like you can't beat a hoe with a belt. They like that shit.
You can talk about Captain Kirk. You can talk about Starbuck, because we're talking about Battlestar Galactica in this session too.
Who was your favorite Starbuck?
Oh, Dirk
Benedict.
Yeah,
Dirk Benedict. Yeah.
I mean, I would have totally banged that other chick.
Yeah.
That other Starbuck. I was like, why are you making Starbuck a girl? And then I saw her. I'm like, oh, that's what I mean.
All right.
Dirk Benedict didn't like that at all. He actually in interviews called her Stardo.
Yeah, like, well, but you know what though? She was very cool. Like, she played a hard ass. And the problem I had was when she got with the bad guy, Boltar.
Yeah.
When she got with Boltar in the new episode, and she banged him, and I was like, dude, Starbuck just banged Boltar. And I had to say it out loud. I'm like, Starbuck banged Boltar.
Yes.
And I'm like, and it was okay because it was a man and a woman. But like,
it wasn't okay.
Dirk Benedict and that old guy.
I'm about to say, because it wasn't okay in your head because you remember the old 70s, and it was like, that's supposed to be Dirk Benedict.
Yeah.
And the old dude.
And the old dude was he was the voice of Apocalypse in the X-Men series.
Yes.
Yes. He passed away a few years ago. But
now I think that Battlestar Galactica reboot, remake, whatever, I think that would have been a much better show without the original source material.
Just start fresh and just do it.
Yeah, I mean, if the original didn't exist, and somebody came along and made that when they did, I mean, we would have been like, yeah, this is awesome.
Funny thing was,
instead of watching it mainly for the fact of the nostalgia purposes of it.
Years ago, I got laid off. And I was home watching TV, and my wife was working, I wasn't, right? So I'm at home, and I'm watching Sci-Fi Channel because they used to do marathon, on Sci-Fi used to do marathons all day long of this, of that, or whatever. So the one day they're like, "Oh, Battlestar Galactica marathon." I'm like, "Oh, good, my day is set." I'm not interviewing. I'm not doing nothing. I'm just going to sit back and watch TV while my wife makes the money. Yes. So I'm sitting there watching, and I'm watching episode. And I finally come to this epiphany that in Battlestar Galactica, first of all, they're based themselves off of the Greeks.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like the gods and stuff like that. But then I realized that they were the Egyptians.
Yeah.
Right? And I got this epiphany, right, during an episode where they fucking finally get to Earth or something like that, and they fucking make a pyramid or something like that. I'm like, oh my God, I was really dumb. I was really stupid with this.
That was Galactica 1980.
I called my wife at work, and I said, Chris. And she goes, what? What's the matter? I said, Battlestar Galactica, they were the Egyptians. She said, what the fuck are you calling me for? Right?
The thing is, I can hear your wife right now. I can. What the fuck? Why are you bothering me with this? You fucking shut the fuck up, you dumbass.
Right? And then hung up the phone on me.
Get a job.
I'm like, you don't understand. This was something I watched this show as a kid for years. Because as a kid, you don't fucking pay attention to what things are.
Mm-hmm.
But their helmets were
like basically the King Tut, the Pharaoh, the sarcophagus,
and then when dress. Got to that, it wasn't Earth, I don't think, but it was a planet where they had fucking pyramids. And I was like, oh my God, I finally figured out this show,
Yeah.
20 years later, whatever it was,
And all of the different like races in there, they were all astrological signs.
Yes.
Yes.
All the places there was like Caprica, for the Capricorn. It was the Aryans, which is funny considering how that eventually got used, but
yeah, right.
But I mean, it was all basic. It was like the 13. So Earth was like the 13th colony.
Yes.
There were like 12 colonies, and they were all based on the astrological signs.
I think they made it to Earth. I don't know if they did or not.
They did. And
the last one, the last episode.
Well, no, they did Galactica in 1980 because after it was canceled, they realized it was a bad idea, and they brought it back. And then they arrived at Earth, and then they realized when they get to Earth that Earth did not advance technologically the way the rest of them did, or they regressed or whatever. And we're like, oh shit, now we got to help Earth,
bring them up to speed
on technology, because now the Cylons are coming. We've basically just lured the Cylons to the last vestige of humanity.
They pulled what I like to call a Dukes of Hazzard. When Bo and Luke decide not to come back due to contractual disagreements, they got these two other guys to come in there and dress like them. All right, and that's what they did with this.
Cousins,
and they were both Coy and Vance. And it's like yo, I'm sorry, but if Bo and Luke leave to go race NASCAR, why did Bo not take his car?
Because he couldn't take his car.
Why did not take the General Lee? You still got to get to the different. Why are you not taking the General Lee to drive around when you're not racing? I mean, you got to drive something.
And it was convenient because Corey and Vance had I think it was like a Nova.
Yeah, they had the Nova,
right? And they crashed that bitch up in like the first episode, right? They have a real nice Nova up until they get to Hazard, and then they fuck the shit up.
Well, the town's name was Hazard County,
you know, which I just lost Roscoe.
Yes,
yeah, just 88 years old, I think he was.
Yep.
I think I was a lie. I think he was like 100.
Yeah,
but
his little buddy.
But they conveniently had the car there, and it's funny because you would think that they would just have other cars like on the farm.
But wait a minute.
Like up on center blocks.
Here's the thing: did they leave the General Lee, or did they repaint Cooter's car to be the General Lee? Because the General Lee cannot leave Hazard County.
Look at that. Ooh. Supernatural meets Hazard County. I don't think anybody probably gives a shit.
That's a totally other episode. We can
sure enough is.
But meanwhile, we're gonna wrap this one up. After. Yeah. We're at our mark. But I think Starfighter wise, we're out of room. I go with the Starfighter versus the Viper.
Yeah, Starfighter for me.
Yeah,
I was always a Starfighter fan. I like the wide body.
Yeah, yeah, it was a cool looking ship. It really was a cool looking ship.
And they were in their own right. They were both fantastic. They both had their pluses and their minuses. I mean, I think you really look at it. Your Battlestar Galactica was more like your Star Wars.
Yes.
Yeah.
Buck Rogers was more like your Star Trek. You know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I liked, Battlestar Galactica really stuck with a more military kind of a theme throughout the whole thing.
Right.
Where Buck Rogers was, you never knew what alien race you were going to meet this week. So, I mean, it gave you that little bit of variety and was nice to see.
But I'll tell you that no matter where he went in the universe, they loved disco.
Yeah.
They loved disco, and it was always some hot girl in Spanish.
I always said that. I said, first of all, this guy goes up in space in 1987. Disco was dead at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
500 years later, they're still listening to disco. I said, listen to these sons of bitches. Right?
Actually, well, the funny thing is, I think, basically, in the future, they said, if you looked at it from if Buck Rogers was lost in space today, our future generation goes, let's take the best parts of disco and the best parts of techno and combine it. And that's the kind of music you have on Buck Rogers.
And that would be Bruno Mars.
Anyway,
that's crazy,
fellas. This was a great episode.
It was a great episode. I'm glad we got more coming up. Remember, hit the subscribe button right below the video.
Aaron Gray, Gil Gerard, anybody left from the cast, please.
Oh, that's the other thing. Real quick before we leave, I was looking up like Buck Rogers stuff. I was doing. I lie. I do research for the show. And I came across an interview probably about 2 years ago with Gil Gerard. And that son of a bitch looks like somebody's grandfather.
Well,
but he has his own voice. Like his voice didn't change. So I'm listening to this guy, but I'm seeing Mickey Rooney. I look like Mickey Rooney. I said, what happened to Buck? I said, right out loud. I had my headphones on. I was at work. I was watching it. So what happened to Buck? Somebody came over like, what's the matter? I said, look at Gil Gerard. He looks like Mickey Rooney. And they're like, that's
That's
Gil
a shame.
Gerard? And then they put their headphones on, like, oh my God, I can hear him. It is. It's Gil Gerard.
In 1980, whatever, he was like 30 years old. So
yeah,
it's like 30 years after that. So you got to.
Because he did Sidekicks.
Yeah.
With that little annoying Reyes kid.
Ernie Reyes.
Yeah. And he said he actually really liked him. He really liked Ernie Reyes a lot. And he thought that Sidekicks, and I'm thinking to myself, Buck, man, you're just fucking. Now, I love you, but, you know, stop. Sidekick was not going to be something. He would have made a great Hunter. Remember Hunter?
Yeah.
He would have made a great Hunter opposite that really hot Italian chick that was on there.
Well, Fred Dryer was Fred Dryer was a man's man coming from the NFL, and then he became Hunter, man.
And then he became Hunter.
Yeah.
And he was don't get me wrong, Fred Dryer was a good actor. And Fred Dryer was a good Hunter.
Yeah.
Oh, Gerard, man.
But yeah, it's like if it wasn't Fred Dryer, you could picture Gil Gerard.
Because check about this out. Fred Dryer, and by all means, this is no knock on anything. We already had this in another episode. Fred Dryer was gay. Okay. And Gil Gerard was not. So they team up Gil Gerard, the sexiest man alive, with fucking Ernie Reyes. Right? And Fred Dryer gets that hot little number that was Stephanie, what was her name?
Stephanie Kramer?
Stephanie Kramer, I think it was.
Yeah, Stephanie Kramer.
I said, what a mixed match that was.
Oh, God.
What a mixed match. Not that because Fred Dryer was gay, he needs to be teamed up with a little Korean kid. But still, it's like, whatever.
Fred Dryer, I apologize.
Rhythm is a dancer.
And, anytime you want to come on, I'm leaving an open invitation for you.
I think even when the show's over, I'm going to dance with Gil for a little bit more. Like, yeah, I'm dancing with Gil in the club. I'm in Studio 54. 54.
There's something wrong with you, Dan.
Anyway, Capes Not Included. Make sure you go on djbproductions.com. You can see all the different shows on there and stuff like that. We're on the channel, DJB Productions. Click subscribe so this way you can share the videos. Just to give you a heads up, we have That Way Cool Wrestling Show, DJs After Dark, Capes Not Included. Should be coming hosted by my good friend here, Matt Sutter. Have you seen it lately?
That's going to be fun.
Coming to the show, very good. Our good friend Frankie Frizzo, the Devereaux Sports Show, which we're going to talk about all kinds of sports, basketball, football, baseball, etc., hockey, all that kind of stuff. So we're making sure there's a lot of stuff on this channel.
And my hunting show.
Hunting show. He's going to hunt squirrels in Camden. So
there we go.
Squirrels in Camden. Squirrels in Camden.
Goldfish. But once again, before we go out,
yes,
I just want to say this to any of the shows that we talk about.
Yes.
Anybody who was in the cast, related to the cast, anything to do with it at all, just worked at the studio. If you want to come on and discuss your experiences, your likes, your dislikes, whatever it is that you had, that because basically this shaped our lives. All these shows we're talking about in some way, shape, or form. And we would really love to be able to share that experience that you had, especially with our audience.
Yes.
So please hit us up. If you know people, let them know about us so they can contact. You can contact. We just need to get in contact so we can have you on and we can just live some of our favorite moments.
That's right. And you know what? If you're angry, don't come on the show.
Well, it depends.
Well, I guess maybe.
Nah, I mean, well, hey, they can always tell us what we got wrong because it's always nice to know what we got wrong too.
It'll be good for views, I guess. You know.
No, you can tell us what we got wrong, just in a respectful way.
Exactly.
So for Matt Sutter, for LeGrand Jackson, my name is Danny J. Until next time, keep your cape in the wind and your eyes to the stars. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.